Men, to stop doing these three things for women, because if you keep it up, she will lose respect for you, instantly. And when a woman loses respect, the relationship doesn't blow up in a dramatic scene. No, it dies quietly, slowly, piece by piece. Even if she says she still loves you, she'll still be around, she'll say the right things. She might still make dinner, share your bed, even laugh at your jokes. But her heart, her admiration, that spark in her eyes when she used to look at, you like her, man, that's gone. And the worst part? You might not even notice it right away. You'll just feel it. In the silence, in the distance, in how her energy changes when you walk into the room. You sit there thinking, what happened? I gave her everything. You avoided fights. You always said yes. You tried to keep her happy. You made her feel good, praised her every day, gave her your time, your energy, your peace. And instead of her being grateful, she got colder, less affectionate, less interested, maybe even more demanding, more critical, less intimate. Why? Because you've been making three critical mistakes that too many men over 50 make, especially the ones who genuinely care. Especially the ones who still believe that if you give her your all, she'll love you forever. But the truth is hard. These behaviors don't make you look like a good man. They make you look like a man who's lost himself, and no woman respects that. Today, we're going to walk through all three mistakes. I'll explain how each one backfires, why they quietly tear down her attraction, not because she's ungrateful, not because she's mean, but because you're no longer showing up as a man she admires. This is not about controlling her. It's not about changing her. This is about becoming a man who commands respect, the kind that makes her lean in again, listen again, and look at you like she used to. Stay with me to the very end, because the third mistake, that one's the most dangerous. That's the one that destroys not just the relationship, but your sense of self. And if you're doing it right now, you probably don't even see it. But once you do, everything can change. Comment the word respect below if you're ready to stop playing small and start standing up for yourself again. Let's get into it. One of the biggest mistakes older men make in relationships, especially the ones who truly care and want to keep their woman happy, is constantly agreeing with everything she says and does. And not because they actually agree, but because they're trying to keep the peace. They think that by saying yes all the time, avoiding disagreements, and going along with whatever she wants, they'll somehow keep the relationship calm and avoid unnecessary drama. At first glance, it feels like a smart move. You don't want arguments, you've had a long week. It's the weekend and all you want is some quiet time, a decent meal, and a moment to breathe. So when she says, let's do this, or I don't like that, you nod and say, okay, sure. Not because you believe it's the right call, but because it feels easier than saying no, and maybe it does work, for a little while. But here's the harsh truth. That kind of silence doesn't create peace. It creates distance. When you constantly say yes to everything, when you agree just to keep her happy, you're not actually showing love. You're showing fear. You're afraid of upsetting her. You're afraid of conflict. You're afraid that if you speak up, she'll snap or withdraw or give you the cold shoulder. And that fear, that's what slowly strips away your masculine, say strength, because every time you ignore your own opinion just to go along with hers, you send her a message, not with words, but with action. You tell her, my voice doesn't matter, my needs don't matter. You lead, and I'll follow. And here's what most men don't realize until it's too late. A woman may love many things about you, but she cannot fully respect a man who always backs down. She doesn't want a yes man. She doesn't want someone who nods and smiles while secretly building up quiet resentment. She wants a man who can speak his mind, stand firm and still be kind about it. She may test you, push your limits a little, but deep down she wants to feel your backbone. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't about yelling. This isn't about being controlling or hard to deal with. It's about having a voice and the courage to use it, even if it rocks the boat a little. Because let's face it, how many times have you thought it's just not worth the argument and said nothing? How many times have you let your own opinion die in your throat just to avoid tension? You think you're protecting the relationship by keeping things smooth, but what you're really doing is training her to ignore your input because you've shown her you don't value it. And over time, she'll stop asking what you think. She'll make all the decisions. She'll start seeing you less as a partner and more like a shadow. And when that happens, you'll notice it. She won't say it outright, but it shows in how she looks at you, how she talks to you, how she stops leaning on you. You're no longer the man in the relationship. You're just the guy who goes along with everything. That's why it's so important to reclaim your voice. If you agree with her, great, say it. Support her. But if you don't, say that too. Calmly, clearly, without anger, without fear. Look her in the eye and say, I hear you, but I don't agree, and here's why. You'll be surprised at how much strength lives in that one sentence. It doesn't create chaos, it creates balance, because women respect men who respect themselves. They want a man who has his own views, his own standards, and isn't afraid to stand on them. Not just to challenge her, but to show her that he's still grounded in who he is. So the next time you catch yourself nodding out of habit or biting your tongue to avoid conflict, ask yourself, am I being peaceful or am I being passive? Then make the shift. Speak your truth, with confidence, with calm, with clarity. That's how you go from being overlooked to being respected again. Now let's talk about the second mistake that's just as dangerous, the one that slowly turns your voice into background noise and makes your compliments feel meaningless. And trust me, this one's deeper than you think. Keep watching. Number 2, over-complimenting a woman. This one might sound harmless, even sweet. You wake up next to her and say, "You're so beautiful." You take her hand and whisper, "I don't deserve you." Maybe you've even looked at her and thought, what did I do to get so lucky? You mean well, you think you're showing love, gratitude, appreciation. And in your mind, maybe you think that's what a good man should do. Remind his woman how special she is. But here's the truth most men don't want to hear. Constantly showering a woman with compliments, especially when they're over the top, or not entirely honest, doesn't build her up. It breaks you down. Over-complimenting doesn't make her love you more. It makes her start seeing you differently. Not as a confident man, but as a man who's unsure of himself. A man who might be trying to win her approval instead of standing in his own worth. Let's be honest, women can sense when compliments aren't genuine. If her makeup is too heavy or the outfit doesn't suit her, and you still say you look amazing, she knows you're not being honest. And when you lie to keep her happy, even in small ways, she stops trusting what you say. She stops taking your compliments seriously because they've become automatic. Just words you throw out to keep the peace or avoid discomfort. And it gets worse. Once she knows you'll always tell her what she wants to hear, even when it's not true, she'll stop asking your opinion altogether. She'll stop trusting your input, because deep down, she realizes you're more afraid of upsetting her than you are committed to being real with her. And no woman respects a man who's scared to speak the truth. She doesn't want a man who just nods and smiles and says, "You're perfect" every time. She wants a man who can lovingly, confidently, and kindly tell her the truth, even if it's something she doesn't want to hear in the moment. Not to hurt her, but because you care enough to be real. There's a difference between giving her a compliment and placing her on a pedestal. When every word out of your mouth is baby, queen, my angel, my everything, it doesn't sound romantic after a while. It sounds like you're trying too hard. It feels like you're worshipping her instead of seeing her as your equal, your partner. And most women don't want to be worshipped. They want to be respected. There's a big difference. And here's the truth that changes everything. The compliments that mean the most are the ones that are earned, not handed out like candy every 10 minutes. When you tell her she looks amazing after she's put effort into herself, she'll believe it. When you praise her for how she handled something smartly or showed strength in a tough situation, she'll feel seen. That's when a compliment lands with real impact. That's when it feels genuine. That's when she holds on to your words, because she knows you don't say things just to say them. If you want your compliments to actually mean something, you've got to stop giving them out on autopilot. Don't flatter her to keep her from getting upset. Don't tell her what she wants to hear just to avoid a tough conversation. Instead, praise her when it's real. Be honest when it's not. And do it with love, not fear. She might not love. hearing the truth in the moment, as no one does. But deep down she'll appreciate that you're not afraid to tell her, because it shows strength, it shows leadership, and it shows that your words still matter. So if you've been throwing out compliments like confetti, hoping one will land and make her happy, it's time to shift, be real, be thoughtful, and stop trying to win her over with sugar, when what she really needs is substance, because when she knows you'll tell her the truth, not just what she wants to hear, she'll respect you more than any sweet-talking guy who just wants to keep the peace. Now, let's get into the third mistake. This one is subtle, but it's the most dangerous of them all, because it slowly eats away at who you are as a man, and you may not even see it happening until it's too late. Keep watching. This part matters more than you think. Number 3, neglecting yourself to please her. This one is the silent killer, the one that sneaks up on you without warning. It doesn't look like a mistake at first. It looks like devotion. It looks like love. You're doing everything for her. You give her your time, your energy, your focus. You spend money on things she wants. You say yes to everything she needs, and you're always right there when she calls. You cancel your plans, rearrange your schedule, skip the gym and give up your quiet time, all because you think that's what a good man does. That's how you show love, right? But little by little, without even realizing it, you start to disappear. The man you used to be, and the man with goals, with hobbies, with a life of his own, starts fading into the background. You used to work on your health. You used to have passion projects. You used to go out, see your friends, do things that made you feel strong, centered, alive. Now you're just reacting, living in a cycle of, what does she need now? And how can I keep her happy? You may think you're being generous or noble or emotionally available, but what you're actually doing is abandoning yourself. And here's the part most men don't see until it's too late. Women don't truly respect men who give up on themselves. They may appreciate the effort at first, but deep down, they start wondering where the man they once admired has gone. Because no woman, no matter how much she loves you, wants to be with a man who's running on empty. A man who has no direction of his own. A man who's always available, always giving, always saying yes, but never doing anything for himself. That's not leadership. That's surrender. And once she senses that you've put yourself dead last on your own list, that your life now revolves entirely around her, she may not say it, but she'll feel it. She'll start to pull back. She won't look at you with that same fire, because something in her knows. You've stopped being the man she once looked up to. Now don't get it wrong. This isn't about becoming selfish. This isn't about walking around with some ego, acting like your needs are more important than hers. That's not the answer. What this is about is balance. It's about knowing when to give and when to guard your space. It's about being a man who supports his woman, yes, but also supports himself, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. She wants to see you take care of yourself. She wants to feel like she's with a man who values his time, who still has personal standards, who has a mission outside of her. That's what builds attraction. That's what keeps respect alive, because when you constantly overextend yourself to keep her happy, when you abandon your needs, your joy, your health, your peace, it doesn't come off as love. It comes off as insecurity. You start to look like a man who believes that the only way to keep a woman is to sacrifice everything. But what really keeps her close is watching you take responsibility for your own well-being. A woman will feel more secure and emotionally connected to a man who puts effort into his life. A man who wakes up with purpose, who has a daily routine, who can say, I need this, time for me, without guilt, because that's a man who leads himself first, and that's a man she'll want to follow. So if you've been putting yourself on the back burner for too long, telling yourself it's what love requires, it's time to reevaluate. It's time to remember that your needs matter too. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to take time for yourself. You're allowed to pursue the things that make you feel alive again. And the moment you start doing that, something will shift. She'll notice it. She'll feel it. She'll start looking at you differently, with curiosity, with interest, with that deep, quiet respect that every man wants from his woman. Because when you show her that you're a man who won't abandon himself to please others, including her, she'll feel safer with you. She'll admire you more. And that admiration, that's the heartbeat of long-term attraction. So ask yourself, When was the last time you did something purely for you? Not for your job, not for your kids, not for your partner, just for your own peace of mind. If it's been a while, that's your sign. Take your time back, take your space back, reclaim your energy. Not to pull away from her, but to bring the best version of yourself back into the relationship. And if this hit you in the gut, if you know you've been putting yourself last, just know this: it's never too late to reset. Comment the word balance below if you're ready to step back into your life, for you. Now let's wrap this all up, because everything we've talked about connects in one simple but powerful truth, and it could be the key to turning your relationship around. Keep watching. Let's take a moment to bring it all together. If you've made it this far, that tells me something about you. It tells me you're not just watching. You're listening. You're reflecting. You're ready to shift something in your life. Maybe something you've been carrying for years. So, let's recap man to man. Stop agreeing with everything just to avoid tension. That silence you think is keeping the peace? It's slowly chipping away at who you are. Speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Because a man who never disagrees becomes a man no one listens to, not even the woman he loves. Stop over-complimenting her to the point where your words mean nothing. You don't need to convince her of her worth. She already knows who she is, and she's watching to see if you know who you are. Make your words count. Let your praise come from honesty, not habit. That's how you keep her attention and her respect. And most importantly, stop giving up on yourself. You matter just as much as she does. Your rest, your purpose, your passions, like they still belong to you. You don't stop being a man just because you're in love. In fact, it's the love that should push you to be an even better version of yourself. Because here's the bottom line. Women don't lose respect for a man because he's flawed. They lose respect when he loses himself, when he trades leadership for passivity, when he trades his fire for quiet desperation, when he becomes a ghost of the man he used to be, just to keep someone else happy. But it's never too late to take it back. Start small, speak up, be honest, reconnect with what makes you feel alive. Start leading your own life again so you can show up fully in hers, not as someone she has to carry, but as someone she can walk beside with pride. Respect isn't something you beg for, it's something you earn, first from yourself, then from the people around you. So if this hit you, drop the word respect in the comments. Let me know what part of this landed. What are you going to shift starting today? And if you're still here, that means you're serious. That puts you ahead of most men already. So do this, like the video so it reaches other men who need it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And share this with a friend, a brother, a man who's stuck in the same loop and doesn't know how to get out. You don't have to be perfect to be respected. But you do have to stop doing the things that quietly strip away your power. Take that step today. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay steady, and above all, stay you.